Good morning, everybody. Yes, we are here to do some designing, some redesigning, some fixing, some modifying, some adjusting to the playable races for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. For those of you who are wondering, why am I doing this? Well, because I am far more interested in the concept than following what Wizards of the Coast has been doing. And so I believe that I can do it better, and so can you. So this is really what a lot of this is about, but also too, I really want to apply it to my own group. I'm very keen on that idea. I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll if you want to. And I'm going to get into this. I only have a short space of time to get this done before I'm supposed to be somewhere else in another live stream. So I'm going to have to be pretty fast. So grab some food, some drink, make sure you're comfortable, and then we're going to get going. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e and remastering or fixing the TABAXI, the feline playable race, the cat-like folk, the leopard folk, as it happens. If you look far enough back, it's actually based off leopard humanoid folk of some kind. So that's what we're going to deal with today. I'm going to be doing some remastering, some fixing, some adjusting for the things that I think need to be fixed or adjusted, or the things that I think my group in particular think need to be adjusted. That's probably going to be more accurate. So my goals, I've been doing what my goals are when I'm doing my design process. So here are my goals. I need to be able to keep it simple, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it simple. I want to make sure the race and species features have biological connections. If it doesn't have a biological connection, why are we worrying about the species or race having those features in the first place? If they would be cultural in some way, it can be done in backgrounds. Next, I'm not concerned about the races being unbalanced or being balanced. I just want them to mechanically work the way I think they should work, okay? I often reduce dark vision benefits to about 30 feet or remove them completely, dependent on what the actual species or race is, because too many playable races have dark vision in Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion, and they don't need to all have this. The TABAXI, unfortunately, is one of these where, frankly, they probably should have dark vision because their eye biology is very much connected to that, like a cat. Make sure ability score adjustments allow for some choice, but also fit the biology of the creature. I'm not keen on just going straight into doing things that are, disadvantages to the playable race. But when I think it's there's a necessity to actually have a benefit. I want there to be a benefit. Eliminate the short and long rest mechanics from the races. If you can't use it all the time, why do you have it at all? Frankly, I don't like those sorts of mechanics. And removing bonus action and reaction features from the race. Don't like those either. They are very much a game thing. I think that Dungeons and Dragons 5e would have done far better by having a 2-action economy, not a 3. But that's not the case. That it has bonus actions, but tying them into the races always annoys me. Ensure that whatever I do to the TABAXI, that my own home group will like it and agree with the changes. And of course, it has to make sense to me. Those are the key things that I'm working with today. Now, as I said, I have very little time today to get this done, so I can't muck around. So I'm going to go straight into this process fairly quickly. I'm not going to muck around at all, okay? And I'm probably going to whip off the hat. The hat has been a thing on my channel for a long time, but I'm finding unless it's winter, it's actually not very useful to me. It's a bit much. So yes, the hat comes off today, and maybe it'll come back on. I don't know. We'll see. I'm very interested to see what people have to say in the chat. By all means, share your opinions and perspectives as we go. Hello, Nacho Man. Good morning. How are you? It's morning in New Zealand, for those of you who are wondering. If you're in somewhere other part of the world, that'll be a different time, of course, because that's how the world works. Okay, TABAXI traits. Now, one of the things that I need to consider, and I have been doing this quite a lot, is that I'm probably not going to be able to call it TABAXI if I were to print this somewhere. So I'm going to chuck in a couple of different names here. So feline folk. We'll put here felinoid. It just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Felinoid. Catfolk. Okay. Right, so there's a placeholder for this. Obviously, there's a reason. Okay, so I've got a few things that I've already done or placed in. I've kind of copy-pasted the original one that they now have got in Monsters of the Multiverse. I am probably going to change some of it. That's just how it is. So the ability score improvements. Hello, Fred Huber. Fred Huber and Nacho are both patrons. Thanks for being here. 5 p.m. in Texas. Yes, I believe, yeah, that makes sense to me. Because in about 2 hours, it'll be 7 p.m., right? And Texas would be the same time zone as Chicago and Wally DM. Okay, right. When determining your character's ability scores, increase one score by 2 and increase a different score by 1. We're going to keep that. Otherwise, increase 3 different ability scores by 1. Now, one of those ability score improvements must be... Now, I've put down dexterity. I'm going to ask your opinion. I think that it's nice to have at least one of the ability scores, in some cases, tied and connected to, having to select one of them. But whether you have a +1 in it or a +2 in it, I really don't think it's that important. I'm just thinking in terms of a cat being dexterous. And from everything that I've read on the TABAXI, it seems to fit. But I'm going to ask this question in the chat of you. Hashtag. What ability score do you think the TABAXI should increase? Bum, bum, bum. There's the question. Dex or con? You're taking the day off for a 4-day weekend. Nacho, man, that is the way to go. I wish I could take 2 weeks off. But it ain't going to happen. Anyway, getting an extra game in this weekend, playing the Lost Caverns of Tomochin this afternoon, and I'm not the DM for once. Well, that's good news. Glad to hear it. Excellent. Okay, so I'm putting this as a highlighted. Fred Huber has already put in his 2 cents as to what he thinks. So we'll see what the rest of you have to say. Creature type humanoid. I don't find with humanoid. It's a creature type humanoid. Most of them are humanoid. You are medium or small. You choose the size when you select this race. I'm fine with that. I don't think that none of that seems like it's terribly important to me. Frankly, I'm fine with all of that. So, and our formatting's all the same. Okay, cool. Let's move down to speed. Your walking speed is 30 feet. Again, I'm not really worried too much about that. Sort of. And you have a climb speed equal to your walking speed. So I think they should have a climb speed equal to their walking speed. Although I'm wondering if maybe that's not true. I'm kind of wondering if maybe their speed should be a little bit faster. Hello, Nathaniel Woods. How are you? You reckon it should be dexterity or intelligence? Yeah, chickens don't give you days off for sure. So I think that the thing that keeps coming up is that dex is a thing. Fred Huber thinks it's dex or con. You think it's dex or intelligence. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at some of the other things. Now, I've already had a think about what I want to do with this. Grey, no, we're not going American English. We're going to go with that one. Okay, dark vision. Now, I was having a hard think about dark vision, so I'm going to jump past the cat's claw and the cat's talent for a second, okay? So we'll come back to that in a second. This is where my head is at with regard to the TABAXI. Being able to see in dim light to 60 feet, I don't have a problem. Bright light, darkness, okay, like all of that is generally fine. I was thinking about, is there a good enough reason for the TABAXI, which is essentially a humanoid cat, to have a limited sight. When you think about it, the cat monster stat block, if you have a cat in a stat block and it has dark vision, which of course none of the cats do in the monster manual for D&D 5e, why would there be a restriction? This is one of those times where I actually think it makes perfect sense that this particular one, not because it lives underground, I don't think living underground is the factor here. I think it is that they are a night hunter. I mean, they are still a cat, and I'm assuming they will still hunt at night, for whatever they need to eat. So I'm going to leave it. This is again one of those times where I just leave that alone. But it does. I mean, look, let's get real. Dark vision makes any playable race much more powerful. Okay, next, going down here, I'm going to get rid of the stuff that's a bit boring. You can speak, read, and write 2 languages of your choice. The character can speak and read and write common and one other language that you and your DM agrees is appropriate for your character. So there are 2 ways that I could write this, and I was thinking about this a lot, and in the end, I actually thought, no, I'm going to just say you just pick 2 languages. It doesn't have to be common. If you decide not to pick common, that's really on you. If you can't communicate with anybody else other than by wiggling your tail, then so be it. That's all good. So I'm just going to eliminate this bit and keep it really, really simple. I was trying to think, is there a language that TABAXI would speak? And there really isn't. I can't think of a specific language that calls out that would say you would have that in addition, just because you're a cat. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to go here. You can speak, read, and write 2 languages of your choice. End of story. Very, very simple. Next, I'm going to go to cat's talent. What do we got here? I'm seeing leopards are ambush predators that drop on their prey from the trees. Yes, they certainly do. So I don't know if you know what my view is on proficiency in a playable race as a feature. I think that proficiency is the wrong thing to give it. Now, hear me out. I have no problems with cat's talent, meaning that you're going to be really good with perception or really good with stealth. I actually have really very little issue with this. But I think it also shouldn't be proficiency. I think it needs to be something else, because you're not really trained, but you're good at it. What is a mechanic in Dungeons & Dragons 5e that does that? And I think advantage is much more sensible. This means that if you actually spend some time and have training or proficiency in perception and stealth, then on top of this, what you will essentially do is you will make yourself a lot better at it. And I have no real issues with that, given what you're trying to play. You know, it kind of makes sense. So I want to take out proficiency and you have advantage. I want to put the advantage dice roll in here. Now, you know how I feel about it. I always say if you're including a dice mechanic into a playable race, you've probably made a mistake and you're being lazy. And I would say that this is the only solution I could see, but I still agree. It is lazy design. But so is proficiency. Okay, you have advantage on... Now, I don't know how I want to word this. Because there's usually a formula that we use for this, isn't there? So you have advantage on perception bracket wisdom checks. Let's do that. So that's fine. And because I think this makes sense, because with a cat, they've got very good eyesight, They've got a very strong sense of smell and extremely good hearing. So they've got all the tools available to them. So I don't think we need to differentiate it in any way. So I'm fine with this. And then stealth, and I might even switch these around a little bit. Stealth. How about, now what have you written here? How about advantage when they're in a forest? I don't think it matters where they are. Do you know? Advantage when they're in a forest. Why? Is a cat particularly good when they're in a forest compared to when I've always found that they're always good no matter where they are. So that's just my thoughts with this. I'm going to add in another skill. I'm going to break this down a little bit more. Oh, hello. Now let's see if I get this name right. You're going to have to tell me, don't super chat, tell me if I get the name correct. Let's see if I can pronounce it correctly. Pakito. Is that right? Pakito. Thank you for the $5 super chat, by the way. What about giving expertise if already proficient in either, so that you can be super stealthy, or give it a pass without trace, but only for you? Pass without trace is essentially plus 10. I think that's too much. Advantage is essentially plus 5. And I think expertise, I've never been a fan of expertise, because the problem with expertise in the game is it breaks the... It's sort of like expertise is an example of a specialized rule that overrides the general rule. The general rule being that you can only have advantage once, okay, and proficiency only gets added once to whatever you're doing. This is why I don't like it. This is why I want to go with advantage. Likes to take 8 short rests a day, but only benefits from 1. Pakito. I think that's right. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to stick with giving it advantage. There's another skill that I would like it to be able to do, and this is a product of, the reason I'm doing this is because of one of my friends, Simon. He likes the TABAXI. I'm going to put in here sleight of hand. I want to include sleight of hand. So let's do that. And I might just expand this out about, you have advantage on perception wisdom checks to hear, to see, hear, and smell. Anything. There we go. Right, there we go. So, additionally, you have advantage. I know a lot of people don't like me putting in the advantage mechanic, but I honestly, I feel like that's the better representation of what's going on here. Additionally, you have advantage on... Now, I need to make this, because both of these are dexterity skills, right? On stealth and... dexterity. Let's do that. Skill checks. Checks. Don't have to say skills, just checks. That'll do. Checks because of your... Now, I was reading up a little bit about cats and so forth and how they work. Their bone structure is very much a reason why they are able to move the way they are, because of your bone Structure. I'm pretty sure that is the reason why the cat is so quiet and stealthy, is that it's just the way its bones can shift its bone position so much. The reason that they are really good at falling from a high distance and not taking damage is because they use their legs to take the impact. So I'm even tempted to add in a falling mechanic to Cat's talent. Do you know what I mean? We'll see how we go with that. That might be more related to feline agility and how that would work. Anyway, I'll come back to this. Okay, cool. We've done that little bit. Yeah, pass without a trace is, you might as well have the spell say you succeed on the check to be stealthy. That's it. Just don't worry about the +10. I think that would be the simplest way to deal with that, frankly. Okay, now let's deal with the next one. The cat's claws. So this one here, cat's claws. You can use your claws to make unarmed strikes. When you hit with them, the strike deals 1d6 plus your strength modifier slashing damage instead of the bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike. Again, what I want to do is I want to restructure this. I've done this before. I've restructured sort of like an unarmed strike for a playable race. And the reason I've done so is because they don't finesse the attack. They determine that the attack damage and the ability to hit is based off strength because it's a melee attack. And apparently Wizards of the Coast still hasn't figured out that if a short sword is a finessable weapon and uses dex or strength, then so should being able to punch somebody in the face with your fist, because it couldn't be more connected to you than anything, could it? Really? Do you know what I mean? It does not, it is easier to punch somebody than to wield a sword. It actually takes skill to wield a sword. It is a lot less skillful to punch somebody in the face, or claw somebody if you got claws. So I have to rewrite this in some way so it's going to work for my group and the way I think. Hello, James. How are you? You could adjust PWT to be a lesser bonus at lower levels. Never thought about that, but you're right. FH, it's very strong early on. Yeah. Path without a trace. I'm not here to deal with path without a trace today. You want to see how I change it, and you don't see any problems? That's cool. Let me show you what I want to do. So, cat's claws. I have a mechanic. I've got some mechanics that I already used from somewhere else that I want to put across here. I'm still not sold on the idea that they do 1d6 damage, but the way you calculate it, I definitely think needs to change. So I'm going to just scroll down here and find, where was it? I think it was Peck and Talons. Here we go. I did this last time, didn't I? Well, not last time, but a few weeks back. So this is kind of what I'm looking for, but not exactly the same. So I'm going to take this up here to cat's claws. I'm going to drop down cat's claws, and instead I'm going to sort of pour it across this. You are proficient with your claws. You are proficient with your claws when making unarmed strikes. Let's do this. Okay. When making an attack roll, you use either dexterity or strength. Any hit with the claws deals, now it's got here 1d6 plus your strength or dexterity modifier slashing damage. That's fine. Instead of bludgeoning damage. So this is where I need to do a little bit of research, and I'm going to take 5e. There are two versions for 5e, right? There's the Monsters of the Multiverse one, there's the Volo's Guide to Monsters, and I'm also going to be looking at the monstrous manual to see just how do they calculate and work out how much damage you do. One of the things I did not really want to do is turn the TABAXI into a powerhouse where unarmed strikes are a thing. Quite often, I think it makes much more sense that you would probably use unarmed strikes as sort of like a last resort, whereas using a weapon like a sword is going to be much more efficient. How is your claws just as effective as a short sword? I don't see it. Not unless you have retractable blades like Wolverine. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to make some adjustments here. But first off, let's have a look here in terms of Volo's Guide to Monsters, because I've page marked it. Let's have a look and see what they did with the cat's claws. Well, it was actually originally a 1d4. So Wizards of the Coast has made it stronger rather than weaker from what it was in the past. Because of your claws, you have a climb speed equal to 20 feet. So they changed your speed because of your claws. I've seen cats literally run up trees, so I'm actually fine with it being the walking speed. So I don't really have a problem with that. So we don't need to mess with that at all. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm tempted to pull it back. I want to have a look at AD&D first, though. And AD&D, TABAXI, because TABAXI does actually exist in here. Now this is a monster stat block. This is not a playable race. But if your TABAXI isn't like your monster, then why are you playing the monster? Do you know what I mean? Alright, so here we go. If I have a look at how the maths works with this thing, it says here, where is it? Number of attacks, rare claw rank, 1d4 plus 1, 1d4 plus 1. Magical. This is a TABAXI Lord. If you were playing a TABAXI Lord, it would be magical ranking 1d6 plus 1, 1d6 plus 1. I think what we can establish is 1d4 was the thing. I'm of the opinion that it should be more of a 1d4 rather than a 1d6. So I'm going to get rid of that. So I've made it a little bit better in some respects, but I've also pulled back a little bit on the damage side of things. But you do get to choose between either strength or dexterity, because I think that makes far more sense, frankly. So that's what I'm going to do with the cat's claws. All right. Next, what do you got here? Yeah, big cats do, but it's big cats just more mangle people, and leopards kills more people than lions, mostly because they're quieter. Yeah, I agree. Remember, the TABAXI is not a leopard or a lion. They are a humanoid cat or humanoid leopard. So they're I guess they're when I look at this, I got to think, is 1d4 with your claws comparable to doing the same sort of damage as a short sword that a short sword would do, which is a piercing and slashing weapon? You got to remember the length of that thing is a lot longer, so it can go a lot further than your claws would be able to go into somebody. Obviously, they're using to be slashed rather than to stab. I just don't think that it's the right thing. So I'm going to pare that back and make you get to use either dexterity or strength, because it makes much more sense to me. Okay. And I know a few people will be thinking, well, you're kind of pissing all over the monk. The monk shouldn't have a special feature that allows them to use either dex or strength. Everybody should be using that for making unarmed strikes. It's one of the most retarded things I've seen Wizards of the Coast do in their design. Anyway, let's move on to feline agility. And we'll bold this. Your reflexes and agility allow you to move with lightning speed. Fine. I'm fine with this idea, but the way they've worded it, I've always found confusing. And every time we implement it into the game at my table, there's a problem. And that problem is that last fucking sentence in terms of adjudicating it. Okay? When you move on your turn in combat, you can double your speed until the end of your turn. Okay. So essentially you've made your movement speed double. I have no problem with doubling their speed in combat. Once you use this trait though, you can't use it again until you move 0 feet on one of your turns. In other words, you've said in that 6 seconds, you can double your speed. Wonderful. But because you moved so fast before, you now have to do no movement whatsoever on your next turn. And why is that? Why is this? This is because if you were to double your speed, you would not move 30 feet, you would move 60 feet, correct? Which means that if you're doing something like this and you're involved in anything whatsoever, it kind of means that your base speed is now 60 feet, not 30 feet if we double it. Correct? I think that's part of what's going on here and what they're concerned about. But frankly, this little bit here, I want to delete. I really want to delete it. Because I don't think it makes sense. I think the idea behind the reflexes and agility and feline agility and the speed burst is kind of all right, but I think what they actually were meaning to do here was something else. If you look at old AD&D 2nd edition, you'll be aware that TABAXI can't really be surprised. It's actually really difficult to surprise the TABAXI. In fact, almost impossible because of their senses and their awareness of their environment. So, I am much more likely, given it says feline agility, to give them slightly different mechanics. I'm fine with the burst of speed, but burst of speed, I don't want it to be applied to going up a tree, climbing, because I don't think that makes very much sense. But across, if they were walking or running, your reflexes and agility allow you to move with a burst of speed. When you move on your turn in combat, double your speed. I really want to say, when you move on your turn in combat and walk or I just want to say you can double your walking speed, but you can't double your climbing speed. More importantly, I really want to put in that you just can't be surprised, because I'm going to read a section out of AD&D to show you what I mean in a second. Maybe they add a bite option to the melee. You want to add a bite? I don't think that's a problem. I think we can add a bite to it. Claws and teeth. You're not going to get to do both. I mean, you're going to have to pick one or the other. You are proficient with your claws and teeth. Yep. When making unarmed strikes. When making an attack roll, you can use either dexterity or strength, any hit with the claws or teeth. Because we're not using both during a turn. We're just using one or the other. You've got to decide. Teeth deals 1d4 plus your strength data. Yes. Now, it's a bit, this is a little bit lazy, granted. Okay. Okay, so we've done that. Nathaniel, we've got that in. Let's go back to feline agility, because this thing that I've highlighted really bugs me a lot. When you walk, Okay. See, I almost feel like this is a nonsense. Okay, let me go back to AD&D because that was my point. I was trying to make my point on talking about what they have done with the TABAXI and AD&D, rather than talking about something else. So let's have a look here at the TABAXI again, and let me read out a section from AD&D to you, and you can let me know what you think based off that. Because this is what I think it should be based off, is like older D&D, and TABAXI is there. So here we go. TABAXI, page 335. TABAXI have spotted coats, ranging in colour from light yellow to brownish red. These graceful feline humanoids are tall and slender, with retractable claws and eyes of green or yellow. Okay. Some TABAXI have solid spots and are also called leopard men. Okay, it's an older version of the game. They pronounce the name TABAXI. TABAXI in other regions have rose spots and are called jaguar men, and pronounce this race name TABAXI. I think it's Bashi. I think it's TABAXI. Here we go. Combat. TABAXI are great hunters, combining quick and stealthy movement with natural camouflage to surprise prey. Enemies suffer a -2 penalty to surprise rolls. Okay, so there's surprise involved. So what I'm thinking is, maybe they can't be surprised. Maybe we don't say they can't be surprised, but maybe they have advantage on being surprised in some way. Is there a way we can build that in that means that they're better at dealing with being surprised? TABAXI are clever and organised, often driving prey into an ambush, though someday with prey before killing it. TABAXI climb and swim, so they can swim and climb, and can use these abilities in combat. Because of their cleverness and acute sense of smell, TABAXI are almost impossible to trap. In other words, capture. In other words, ambush. Do you see where I'm going with this? Let me keep going. TABAXI often use weapons of wood, bone, and stone, including bandoliers, slings, obsidian-studded clubs, treated as a battle axe, and javelins. They are likely to use claws and teeth. There we go. We have included teeth as any other weapon. Okay. If both forepaws hit, a TABAXI rakes with its rear claws. A group encountered in the wild will include a hunter leader with maximum hit points, and may 50% chance include a third level priest. So we're kind of going into other stuff here. My point is, I really think that it's actually this feline agility thing is it makes more sense that the speed thing is not there, but their ability to move out of the way. I almost feel I really want to give them advantage on dexterity saving throws. Honestly, that's what I think is much more sensible. So I'm going to write this down and see what your mind is thinking after seeing this. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws to avoid threats, attacks, and spells. There you go. That's what I feel like feline agility should probably look like. Rather than you get to move really, really fast, which again I'm not really you know, I'm not really sold on the idea that it's a bad idea that they get to move faster than other playable races. I'm actually kind of all right with that idea. But I think that makes more sense. There's that other thing, that's that ambush thing. And I honestly think that I need to add in something like this. In addition, now, how's it going to work? In addition, you can't be surprised in a battle. Surprised. There isn't any other way that I can think about doing this other than giving them an advantage on an initiative check. And that's a very odd mechanic. You know, to give somebody advantage on an initiative check would be a very odd mechanic. So that's kind of where my head is going with this a little bit. This is where my instinct tells me it should probably sit. So let me just go back over here. And we're going to grab Volo's Guide to Monsters. And let's going to have a look at some of the monsters in 5e and see how they sort of compare to this. And let's break that down. I think there are some monsters in the back of this book that are TABAXI. So let's just see. Is it Veggie Pygmy? Maybe not. Maybe there isn't. Maybe I need to go to Monsters of the Multiverse, and that'll have what I'm looking for in there. Woodwogue, Veggie Pygmies, Trapper. No, that's T, that's S. Okay. So we don't have sort of an example of the monster in 5e in that book. Let's try one more book before I decide to do this, because this is really what I want to do with it. Where were we? We were going monsters, weren't we? So swarms of rot grubs. It's SSS. Otherwise, I might just have to look up in the monster section on D&D Beyond. That might be the solution. Trolls. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. No. Okay, so that's not going to help me. All right, so we're going to go to D&D Beyond. Before I make this decision, let's go over here. And we'll go into the monster section. Monsters. Type in TABAXI. Do we get some monsters that are TABAXI? Is there one show? TABAXI Hunter, TABAXI Minstrel. Okay, let's have a look at both of these if we can. So first off, they have a high dexterity, so I feel like I'm right in terms of that should be pushed up. They have a speed of 30 feet and a climb speed of 20 feet. So we've actually made their climb speed even better than it was before. I'm more inclined to pull back on that a little bit. Next, feline agility. Here we go. Feline agility. When the TABAXI moves on its turn in combat, it doubles its speed until the end of the turn. This is such a terrible, it's even built into the sodding monster. It is such a terrible mechanic. So for one turn you can move really fast, and then you gotta just move really, you can't move at all. It kind of pisses me off a little bit. It really kind of pisses me off a little bit. So anyway, all right, let's go back. So that's what that's doing there. And then the minstrel, which will probably be very similar. Feline agility. It's exactly the same, and it's that same silly mechanic, but it's in line with what the the monster does. Do you know what I would do if I was to I would rebuild both these monster stat blocks. Honestly, and I would just say that the tabaxi walks 60 feet. It goes 60 feet rather than 30 feet. It's not your normal humanoid. It moves much, much quicker. And then leave the climb speed at 20 feet. That's really where I would go with this. I think that makes much more sense. It's a lot cleaner. Do you know what I mean? That's where my head is at. Is I would just push their 30 feet to 60 feet and their climb speed to 20 feet and be done with it. And then we eliminate this ridiculous feature here. I'm kind of curious as to how fast the tabaxi used to move in AD&D too. The Heragon has a thing that gives it a... Now, what's this? Heragon. You said something about the Heragon. Has a thing that gives it a benefit on initiative. Does it? Does it? Okay, all right. Well, that's maybe something I need to consider too. Okay, next, let's see. I want to nail down the speed thing, this movement speed thing. It doesn't say anything in AD&D about how fast it moves and how quick it is. Movement 15. So the tabaxi has a movement of 15 in AD&D. If I were to compare that with a human, what's a human in compared to the tabaxi? You know, this is a good comparison. This is the kind of comparison that probably should have occurred in the first place. Let's go back and look at that. I'm sure I've got human in here. Yes, human has a speed. Has it got a speed rating? There's bound to be a speed rating in here on humans. Number appearing, da-da-da-da. That's a horse. We don't want a horse, we want a human. How fast do they move? Hit points, number appearing. It's weird. Movement. It doesn't have a section on movement for them. Why is that? Or is it just I'm looking in the wrong place? Humans don't seem to have a designated movement. Why is AD&D removed that as a thing? Because I don't see it anywhere. Let's just turn the page a little bit. Humans, lawful, thugs, Hydra. See, a Hydra has a speed of 9, and a tabaxi in AD&D had a speed of 15, almost double. Okay, so if I can't use human, what is another good comparison in AD&D? What about an orc? Let's have a look at an orc. Orcs used to move quite quick. But I reckon if I do orc and... so here, for example, lizard man movement speed is 6. And then they have a swim speed. Okay, so lizard man is 6. Which means that the tabaxi moves quite a bit faster. Next, let's look at something else that kind of maybe is comparable to see if we're seeing a pattern. What is your average? Heck, even the Minotaur, well, the Minotaur has a movement of 12, which is still slower than the tabaxi. But that's not a comparable one. Let's find orc. Ogres, orcs, or ogres are bigger than yeah. So let's try orc. If I can get an orc, here we go. Orc, movement 9, almost double. Tabaxi used to move almost double the speed of an orc or a lizard folk back in AD&D. Literally, this is why I think the speed should just go up. I know people are going to freak out. Goblin, here we go. Goblin has a speed movement of 6. Oh, no, that's it. I'm just making it 60. I'm just going to make it 60. We're going to get rid of this shit. This nonsense here. This can go. This just annoys me. So I'm getting rid of that. Is it? And instead of this, we're going to go over here to speed. You have a walking speed of 60 feet. And you have a climbing speed of 20 feet. Of 20 feet. That's it. Let's just do that. I think that's perfectly fine. There's none of this. This time you can go faster. Next turn you can't do anything with your movement. I just think get rid of all of that sort of nonsense. Does this make the TABAXI one of the fastest playable races in D&D 5e now? Absolutely. But it probably should be. Wood Elf gets 35 feet a turn. Yeah. And look, just based on the way that the legs of the TABAXI are built, they're built to move really quickly. Like they've got a bend in them, right? They are obviously designed to move very fast. And I would imagine that they probably go down onto all fours to run, frankly. I once did maths for how fast a cheetah can go in D&D and in a game-breaking 650 feet. Do you know why I think this works? Is the TABAXI is based off the leopard. Really, you could say the TABAXI is based off the leopard and the cheetah. And they move super fast. So why don't we just make them super fast? I always found it weird that TABAXI got dark vision. Got dark vision, but cats didn't. Yeah, Wes, you're right. It's ridiculous that cats should have dark vision just like TABAXI. It's one of the few things that should absolutely have it. Now, you were talking about a benefit to initiative for the Haragon. And I was wanting to try to do something around the feline agility and the ability to be surprised. I wanted to deal with that aspect of it. Your reflexes and agility allow you to move with a burst of speed. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws to avoid threats, attacks, and spells. That makes far more sense in terms of agility. Next, let's go over here, and you said Haragon. So let me find Haragon. And I'll see what this feature looks like. It's probably a way down, isn't it? Haragon. Here we go. Here's the Haragon. Hello, Shy X. How are you doing? I'm almost out of time, by the way. A Wood Elf Druid's wild shape gains a walking... Hang on. Hashtag. Gains a walking speed of 35 feet. It's kind of cool when wild shape into something small. Well... Let's keep going. Let's see what this Haragon has got. You can add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. Now, there's almost nothing in that ever does this. Like, there's almost nothing that allows you to roll initiative and have proficiency on it. It's almost never a thing. And you know how I feel about proficiency. Now, proficiency is going to grow, right? It's going to go from a +2 to a +6 eventually when you get to the top end. And that's not really what I want to achieve. Do you know what I really want to achieve? I still think advantage on initiative rolls is probably the most sensible thing to do to duplicate the idea that it's almost impossible to surprise you. Or at least you'll be going first. All this is going to do is mean you're going to get to go first, but you could still be surprised. You do have things that will allow you to be less surprised. It doesn't say in AD&D that you can't be surprised, but it's almost impossible to trap you. So I think that says that, I think that sort of suggests that AD&D, if we go back to AD&D for the TABAXI, that it's not an automatic, you can never be surprised. So I've probably gone too far with that. But I think advantage on initiative rolls is probably the best way to look at this. You're doing well? You just got home? Awesome. That's what I'm going to do. I know one of the versions of the Ranger had this. In addition, speed. In addition, you are difficult to trap and ambush. You are difficult to trap and ambush. You have advantage on initiative rolls. That's it. That was a little bit tricky. That was actually quite difficult to get that to figure out what to do with that. Clearly I've given the TABAXI more. I've taken some things away. I've shifted things around to certain places. Is the TABAXI stronger than it was before? I think probably it is. But does it make sense? I think it does. I'm going to go through it just really quickly. I've only got 2 minutes before I need to really sort of bugger off and get ready for the next live stream. Nah, because the walking speed's now 60 feet, Shy-X. I've made the walking speed 60 feet. I folded that ridiculous feature they had as feline agility and actually made feline agility. And now it looks different. So, TABAXI, our feline folk, our felinoid, our cat folk, our leopard folk, whatever you want to call them. I don't really care. Here we go. So you're going to get, for your ability scores, you get to choose one of your ability scores and increase it by 2, or increase one of those ability score and increase. So increase one ability score by 2 and increase a different ability score by 1. Otherwise, you get to increase 3 different ability scores by 1, and one of those increases needs to be dexterity. Okay, that's that. I think we've nailed that down. Creature type is humanoid. You can be small or medium. I don't think it really matters, honestly, and I don't think that the speed is going to really affect your overall speed, being medium or small. So I'm happy with that. Cat's claws and teeth. So now you can use your claws and your teeth to make unarmed strikes, not just your claws. And you use dexterity or strength when you make your attack roll. And you use 1d4 plus your strength or dexterity modifier, whichever is higher, to do slashing or piercing damage instead of bludgeoning damage. That's it. I think that's perfectly fine the way it is. Cat's talent. So you have advantage on perception wisdom checks to see, hear, and smell anything. Additionally, you have advantage on stealth and sleight of hand dexterity checks because of your bone structure. So that's bone structure and camouflaging. Flaging. I'm going to be... the problem is, every time I do this, my players always point out there's not enough fluff in the description. Camouflaging... and what is it? Coat here. Coat, fur coloring, I think that's probably it. Fur colouring. That's it. I don't have to say the word camouflage. So I'm just gonna and fur colouring. There we go. All right, I got that. Hello, Overboard. How's it going, Joe? Yeah, all mechanics, no fluff. Yeah, my players really get annoyed when that happens, and I know I'm going to have to go back through and put more. They don't want a lot, but they at least want one sentence. That's usually what I've discovered, or at least part of a sentence that describes what the hell's going on here. Anyway, so we've got that. Dark vision, pretty much exactly the same as it was before. Feline agility, your reflexes and agility allow you to move with a burst of speed. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws to avoid threats, attacks, and spells. You are difficult to trap and ambush and have advantage on initiative rolls. And then languages, just pick 2. And I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's nails it down. I think that's where I would have it sit. Is this balanced? As I said before, that's not my design goal. Okay. Would I always allow a TABAXI to be played in my campaign? No, I wouldn't. But there will be certain circumstances where I think that they should be played. You know. Okay. You reckon just a score of 20? I'm going to just give them advantage. I'm just going to give them advantage. Do a +5 to your movement speed, kind of like an elf. I think that the TABAXI should move faster than an elf. Do you know, honestly, I think elves are snails compared to a TABAXI. So this is why I don't want to make them like the elf. The advantage on perception check should be more than sufficient. Lots of cats still get snuck up on. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. The advantage on perception, you're right, because that really sort of helps us alleviate. Actually, that's not a dumb point. That is actually, I don't really need to do that, do I? And feline agility is really, feline agility is pretty good at having advantage on dexterity saving throws. I think that's probably fine, actually. You do make a good point. And we have at least done this. What I will do is I will cut this bit out. I will take that. I will delete this. I'll go up here. Where the hell is it? Here we go. You are difficult to trap and ambush. There we go. You have advantage on perception and wisdom checks to see, hear, and smell anything. Okay, so I think that cleaned it up a little bit. That's fine. And then we have languages, which is just pick 2. I think that's it. I think that's good enough. I think we're good. Thank you for that YB 1988. I think that really helped a lot as it happens. He's an orange cat, good at hiding in green grass. Yeah. What about not taking falling damage up to a limit, obviously, since cats always land on their feet? I can almost imagine some druids getting drunk and racing around as a snail. Yeah, I bet you can. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the falling damage, and yeah, let's do that. I think we will. When you fall, because there is a limit to this, right? When you fall 10 feet, okay. When you fall 10 feet, you take no falling damage. It's never going to come up. How far should a cat fall and not take damage? I've just put down 10 feet. Now, I'm really curious as to how people think. How far is 10 feet? How far can a cat fall and not take damage? How far can a leopard fall and not take damage? All right, let's see this. Survive huge falls without a lot of... Ooh, this is 100 feet off a mountain. There's a lot of footage of them hunting and plummeting 100 meters from mountains and surviving unscathed. Well, this is interesting. How can a fall? That is a good question. And they fall all this way. A twisted ball of predator and plummets 30 feet. 300 feet. Crashing against walls and snow before eventually coming to rest on the mountainside. Remarkably, the snow survives the ordeal, and despite the colossal fall, still appears focused on surviving, securing its prey. This is a really interesting idea. I am kind of really curious how this might work. No, the terminal velocity of a cat is roughly 60 miles per hour. That's fast, and cats do not often walk away from high falls. Okay, so that's different. TABAXI survives a fall and catches a goat. You know, I can just see this feature pissing people off who are a game master. When you fall... At least 25 feet to 100 feet, yeah. Not sure about leopards, but house cats. Nah, house cat, 150 feet with no injuries. Really? House cats have fallen over 150 feet with no injuries. Okay, let's do this. When you fall... Okay. When you fall a maximum of 200 feet, you take no falling damage. Holy shit. Makes the monk look like it's... when you fall a maximum of 200 feet, you take no falling damage. So... that ain't going to survive. I can't see that surviving a first draft, but I'm going to stick it in anyway because it's a cat race. Really, it's a cat race. Ah dear. I'm really curious as to what Simon will say. I know what Simon's going to do when I put this in front of him and I show him. First off, he's going to say, "Fred, this is really, really powerful and really strong," because even if Simon likes sort of playing powerful stuff, he also knows when things are really, really strong. He's going to tell me if it's going to be a problem almost immediately. I can just see this now, and he's the one who'll probably want to play it. But I can just see him now. He's just going to say, "This needs to come down here. This needs to be adjusted here." I can just see it now. I'm quite sure of it. It's hilarious how these things work. But I can see he's gonna look at the falling thing and is like, "Oh, well, I suppose it makes sense, but good lord." And then I'm going to talk about snow leopards, and he's going to say, "Oh yeah, that's right, the snow leopard." And then he's going to say, "Oh well, cats, how far can they fall?" And then leopards and other cats, how far can they fall? And then we're like, "Is it really in line with the TABAXI?" And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting conversation tomorrow, because this is when it's probably going to happen. But 300 feet and still survives the fall and continues on. Let's get real. If you fall in snow, I expect you to survive. If you fall on rocks, that's a bit different. That's a very different thing. Okay, I would expect a bit of splatting to take place. But falling and bouncing off snow, yeah, I can see that. It's just the way their bones are structured, isn't it? Really, that's what's going on here. Anyway, I am done for today. I'll be back next week, same day, same time, say, back channel. Maybe at not exactly the same time. We'll see. I'm only early today because I really needed to get this done before the next live stream, which I'm going to be playing, for those of you who don't know, Super Atomic with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, two of my bestest buddies on YouTube, and also with Wisdom Check and the OKSDM. So Dennis and Jake are going to join us, and we're going to play a game you've probably never heard of before, but that's all right. That's all right. Anyway, I am ready to go. I'm sure you are too. Thank you for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. Thank you for taking part in the poll. Do you think the TABAXI playable race for Dungeons & Dragons 5e needs fixing? Yes, 40%. Not sure, 40%. I'm not sure too. No, 13%. Just watching, 6% out of 15 votes. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Cal-Rel. So thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon. Thank you for watching and listening, taking part in that poll, and giving your feedback. So particularly the people who were willing to actually go into chat and put forward their ideas, whether I took them on board or not, thank you for actually doing that. I do appreciate it. It does help me think and work things out. So Cal-Rel, Fred Huber, Nathaniel Woods, Overboard, Joe, thanks for being here. He's a moderator, by the way, if it wasn't obvious by the spanner. West C, Shy X, YB 1988, and was that everybody? I think that no, James, thank you for being here, James, and also for the super chat. And I'm gonna balls up this name really badly, I know. Nacho Man, who's also a patron. Thank you for the super chat. Now, if I get this, Papikito. Thank you for the super chat and your feedback. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I am going to be back next week. Anyway, let's get out of here, shall we? So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.